Hey, welcome. Welcome to the nap. This is Occam's Razor, where we cover the question period. But before we get to that, we do a preamble where we cover a lot of the stuff that's been happening in Canada, typically the far left evil that we have to deal with on a regular basis every day. This far left evil that has beset our land and the events surrounding it. And we will continue to cover this until the government decides not to show up to work. Sorry for our late start this morning. We had a little run later with our Blazing Cat for Fridays, and I'm still just trying to set up here. Let me get into our thumbnail while I fix this thing. We had a really good episode over at Blazing Cat Fur, covering a lot of things that we've been discussing about here on the Nap. And am I getting this right here? There we go. Discussing a lot of things that we've been discussing here on the Nap, because as always, I mean, politics is culture and culture is politics. Because we have to live here every day, and the people that are running our lives are not doing a very good job of it. What is going on with my corner camera? I had this all fixed up earlier. It was just working fine. Oh, I see what's going on. Anyway, let's get on with the show. And of course, I took out my camera. There we go. All right, let's fix this here. Bring this over. Excellent. Maybe fix our Occam's razor bug. And much better. All right. Let's get into our first story. Now, of course, we have been covering the ostrich situation every single day as it's been coming along. So far, the call has not happened, right? Most of the story that's been going on now is, of course, the people that are not speaking up on it, and the people making excuses for the people that weren't speaking up on it. And of course, we know that Pierre Poilievre finally did speak on it, and when he did, it was a little lame. And so, of course, people have challenged him, and the other people like, oh, we got better things to fry about, right? Yeah, sure. Yeah, we do. But it's all part and parcel. It's all about the same thing. This is government overreach. And of course, what a lot of people don't realize is that the legislation that is causing cull has conservative fingerprints all over it. Bill S11 was put in by an appointed conservative senator Carignan. Uh, After he was appointed, he was there for just over a year, working on a bunch of different committees, different projects, and they picked him to put forward Bill S11, which created the legislation that allowed CFIA to create their own legislation without having to answer to anybody except the minister. In fact, if anybody takes them to court, they can just point to the legislation and say, sorry, all this other stuff they're presenting, we don't have to look at it. We have the final say. We can just imagine what we want, and it will be so. That's how they created legislation. It's very communistic. So there are plenty of other stories. Let's get to them. Now, of course, we had our Truth and Reconciliation event that the Liberals have foisted upon Canada. Another propaganda lie that people still seem to believe because they pushed this lie. They had our flags flying at half mast for months at a time. Then finally somebody had to go to them and says, guys, it's been like 8 months you've had your flags down for this. You haven't dug up a single body. And by the way, November 11th is coming up. And we got to put the flags up and down for the ceremony. So could we please just bring our flags back up? This months, months of national mourning for a lie, for a bloody lie that people are now causing violence over and destroying other people's careers over. Because that's what liberals do. They lie about everything. They maintain power. Here's a little bit on this by Anita Kay out in BC.
I think as it's come to light now that the 215, the children that they proclaim to be buried behind the Kamloops residential school, it's well known now and well documented that nothing has been excavated. There's no bodies to dig up in a sense because we don't even know if there's bodies there. The ground penetrating radar showed that there was like some sewage stuff there. I mean, nothing has been dug. I mean, dig a little, do something so you can confirm what we all said in the meeting. Widowson, who takes a lot of heat for stuff like this, but just recently she was at a university, and this is what happened. This is pretty bad. This is pretty bad. So a little warning here. She's actually down on the ground here and being yelled at.
She said that you are the one who's been attacking people. You brought people here to attack women.
Get up, you're not a little kid. Get up.
You're not a child.
On the ground. Nobody
Your
touched you.
followers are hurting people. Get up. Get up. You want to make big girl decisions and deny history? You get up.
You're privileged. You know what? This is the same way I was treated in residential school.
Get up.
They dragged me.
Nobody is touching her.
Get your
Ooh, gosh. Wow. There's a little more. Okay, here's a little more.
You're full of shit. You don't know what you're talking about. Go home, you hick. Go home, you fucking hick.
Enough of that. So, as you can see, this is the atmosphere that liberals have created in Canada with their buffoonery, right? They create this false narrative of mass graves, and they keep pushing this. They need to. They need to constantly create a victim and an oppressor in order to maintain control over people. And these people have bought it hook, line, and sinker. Now, I'm not saying that there weren't issues, right? But who developed these schools in the first place? Oh, it was virtue signaling liberals, right? Who decided, just like these liberals today, that they knew better, right? That they needed to take these people from their families and train them into Western values. But of course, there were a lot of mistakes made at the time, but people forget that was a different time back then. That was a different time. People thought differently. A lot of people, especially on the left side, can't appreciate that history is different in the past. They think that everything happens today in their mind, that today's values have to be applied to the past, which is why they're constantly rewriting the past to fit their narrative, like creating this false narrative of mass graves when they haven't actually even dug a single hole to prove their lie. Enough of that. Let's move on to the next story. Ah, yes. So, Canada, we know the Liberals have been doing everything they can to destroy it. And one of the things that they've done is inundate Canada with uncontrolled mass migration. This is not the migrants' fault. This is the Liberals' fault because they destroyed the system. They did this on purpose, but they're not done. Oh, they in fact want to completely destroy our national identity or any aspect of it because they are pure globalists. They don't believe any country should exist. They think that everyone on the planet should be able to roam free without borders as long as they can control everything that they are allowed to do. But even then, that's not going to happen because they're going to build all these 15-minute cities and you're not going to be able to leave anyway because of digital ID. To get there, they have to just completely destroy the nation. And this is how they will do it. This is a really good video. It's by the Conservative MP. It's from Canada Capital Clips. I don't usually like to play an entire clip of something, but I'm telling you, what happened right here is endemic of every liberal and their thought process.
Minister, how many people exited Canada last year?
So thank you, Madam Chair. Again, we are here today to talk about Bill C-3. It's a bill that many Canadians and many families have been waiting for many, many years.
The reason why I ask this is just to pick up on the last stream. How are you going to prove a claim that's made under this chain migration bill if it's prior to 2019 if you can't track entry and exit data? Like, don't you think that there's a pretty big potential for fraud there?
So thank you, Madam Chair. Again, the current legislation that, that was struck down was found to be not acceptable. There's a lot of consequences to Canadian families that are living.
Yeah. So I get your word salad, but like, so let's say somebody makes a claim before that their 5 years happened before 2019, and you're not tracking exit and entry data. Like, could anybody just be like, yeah, like you said, I went to the cottage, yo. Please give me citizenship, like a Costco card. Or can you tell me how fraud wouldn't happen here?
So thank you, Madam Chair. Again, like-minded countries, the M5s, all have policies that limit the passing of automatic
No, but us
citizenship
here
by
in Canada.
dissent. We believe we've struck a balance here by
what's
putting
the
a
balance?
substantial connection to the country.
What's the balance? Like, if somebody's coming in prior to 2019 and you can't prove if they entered or exited, then like literally anybody could just be like, yeah, I'm Canadian, yo. Give me citizenship. This is not sus at all. Like, do you understand what you're saying here? You've introduced a chain migration bill, and you can't prove if somebody came or entered the country. Like, do you realize how ridiculous that is?
So, Madam Chair, again, I think the question is a bit ridiculous, to be quite frank.
Thank you. I will be clipping that.
Point of order,
People need
Chair.
to
Point of order.
demonstrate that they
I'll
have the
stop the clock.
substantial
Point of order.
connection.
Yes,
I
Ms.
think
Zaid.
opportunity
It
should
is-
be provided to the witnesses to answer the questions. And I think this is not the decorum we should have in this committee. There needs to be like a question, and then there needs to be an answer.
Thank you, Ms. Said. Thank you. We'll allow the witness to answer the question. We will restart the time. Ms. Diaz.
Actually, just point of order on that with the time stopped. I would love an answer. It would be awesome. I actually agree with my colleague. I'm not getting an answer from the minister. Thank you for this point of order and raising it. I'm asking, Madam Chair, how she's going to prevent fraud on this. And you started my time. I'm making a point of order, right? So I want
Yes,
you to
you're
rule on
asking a
this.
question
I didn't get
on-
an answer.
So I'm going to restart your clock, and then we will have the minister respond.
Thank you.
Minister Diaz.
So can I just restate the question, because my colleagues were trying to silence me? So
Yes.
for people who are listening, the Liberals have tabled a chain migration bill, okay? And in order to fulfill the requirements of this chain migration bill, which will give them Canadian citizenship, they have to say that they were in Canada for 3 years. But prior to 2019, or we don't even know today, the Liberals can't prove if they were in Canada. So, Minister, how are you going to prove rampant fraud and the abuse of Canadian citizenship?
So thank you for that. We already do this for all naturalized Canadians. Applicants will be asked to submit evidence of their Canadian parents' physical presence. I mean, this is something that's been done in this country and in all countries with proof on the citizenship application.
Okay,
so
but
it would
again,
include things like pay
I'll stop the
stubs,
clock, but
educational
hold on.
records.
I'll stop the clock, Minister. Ms. Rempel-Garner, please allow the witness to
I
finish.
don't have to, Chair. On a
Please-
point of order,
please-
I do not have to let the Liberals
So here's
word salad my answers
here's
when
the-
I'm asking about the value of Canadian citizenship. Sorry, you can't do that.
Here is the problem, Ms. Rempel-Garner. There is crosstalk, and it is very hard for interpreters to interpret, and it's very difficult for them to do their jobs. Kindly allow, if we could have one person at a time. Ms. Minister.
No, it's me. I get to ask the question again since you interrupted me again.
And then I will allow the witness to answer the question. Thank you.
Point of order. So if the witnesses answer direct questions, then we wouldn't get into these kind of situations. But if we're allowed the witnesses to continue off.
This is
subject,
debate.
then
Mr. Ma,
we're
this is not a
banning
point
the
of order.
questions.
Okay, Ms. Michelle Rempel-Garner, please go ahead.
Thank you. So, Chair, since we're not going to get an answer on, like, obviously the Liberals have written a chain migration bill that's going to allow for rampant fraud. The minister doesn't include a requirement for taking a citizenship test in this chain migration bill. She said that this bill is the right thing to do. Is it right to grant Canadian citizenship to somebody without taking a citizenship test?
So, Madam Chair, as I was saying, officers will assess the totality of the information that's presented when an application in front of them and determine whether or not they're satisfied and whether or not the individual should be given.
But there's no citizenship test. So are you saying it's the right thing to do to give Canadian citizenship to somebody who can't speak one of Canada's official languages and doesn't have to take a citizenship test with no security screening? Is that what you are telling this committee that we are supposed to vote for with this chain migration bill?
Madam Chair, this bill was drafted to have reasonable limits that would surpass the constitutional rights of people. It strikes a balance by protecting the value of Canadian citizenship
Wouldn't
gives
you
fairness to
argue-
Canadian families.
Wouldn't you argue that
Ms.
not?
Rempel Garner, please allow the witness to answer the question.
She is word salading.
Please let her finish the question.
Okay, Minister, yes or no? Do you think it's right to give Canadian citizenship to somebody without them having to take a citizenship test?
This bill is here to protect Canadian values, and I believe we've struck a balance. If you have any amendments,
We are, the committee's happy.
And then, of course, she says, well, why not amend it now? Why not do it now? You know what the problems are, right? So get this. They want to change the law. So anybody, like you just saw, can just say, oh, yeah, I lived in Canada for 3 years. And then they get a couple of their buddies to say, oh, yeah, I saw him here. And then she's talking about these officers will get together. You know what? What have they done for the past 10 years? Every time that they have substituted something with something else, it's gone to shit. It's destroyed everything. And that's their plan right here. You can't tell me that that's not going to happen. Oh, they are going to appoint a group of people to review the paperwork or whatever documentation they present. I don't know if they can speak the multiples of languages that these people speak, but I'm sure they'll find some form of communication, and they will assess. You know what? I think you deserve to be Canadian. There you go. Welcome to Canada. Like she said, no test. Can't speak either one of the official languages. Can he read or write? Does he follow the same values? Oh, no. Values have been done and gone with, right? Ethics, values, and morals do not exist in Canada when they can be circumvented by DEI or any politician who is unaccountable and unanswerable for every one of their single actions. You can't stop them. They will do whatever they want, and nobody can stop them. Short of actually being caught on film ending somebody, you cannot touch these people. They are completely protected. And that's why they have to have these committee meetings, because it's the only place that other representatives of the public can look at these people in the face and say, you're selling me a line of bullshit because we know it's not in your bill. And they're like, oh, well, it was found to be unacceptable, she said. It was found to be unacceptable. They say these statements as if they mean something. Oh, experts say. No, they decided. Oh, are we going to cram more people into this country faster than ever so they can vote liberal? Oh, I know what. Let's say a committee of people, and we'll just let them all come in and stamp them all. Welcome to Canada. And don't forget to vote liberal. Welcome to Canada. Vote liberal. Yeah. We know exactly what they're doing. They are so desperate. And in their language, they will continually to frame anyone who disagrees with this as a racist. Of course they will, because that's the only way they can push their frame of mind, because none of what they do makes sense. So they have to attack and disparage everyone and anyone else who disagrees with them. Now, here's Moose on the Loose with a little piece. This HIMARS system, I actually got to see it in action in Afghanistan. It's quite a nice piece of kit. The Taliban would shoot a rocket off to try to come into CAF, in the camp that we were at. The largest airstrip on the planet, actually. It's not an airport. It was an airfield. It had the largest airfield, busiest airfield on the planet at the time. A lot of flights coming in and out all the time. But of course, there I am out in Odark Stupid, off to the ammo dump to get some some flares, and probably to drop off some stuff as well. It's part of our normal routine back then, so we could, take care of the helicopters. The helicopters have to fly out with flares just in case, they get shot at with anything that's heat-seeking. Anyway, these HIMARS were there to protect us, and I saw some of them going off, stationed not too far from the ammo dump, because Taliban shoots off a rocket, radar finds out where that came from, HIMARS reacts, and then it peppers that grid area with explosions, and hopefully you take out the rocket launcher and the launcher himself. So yes, it's a nice piece of kit. However, as usual, nothing the Liberals do is without a catch.
And what do we see today? U.S. State Department greenlights potential sale of $2.4 billion mobile rocket system to Canada. And just wait for it. This is going to blow your mind. So Mark Carney and his team are making a deal here with America to spend billions of dollars, not use this in negotiating with the Americans. Here's the official release here. October 1st, just yesterday, the State Department has made the determination approving a possible foreign military sale, because they're not going to sell this just to anyone, to the government of Canada of M142 high mobility artillery rocket systems and related equipment for an estimated 1.75 billion, that's US dollars. This is on an American website. It's 2.4 billion Canadian dollars. The Defense Security Cooperation Agreement delivered the required certification notifying Congress. Proposed sale will improve Canada's ability to meet current and future threats by providing the HIMARS long-range precision rocket systems. This benefits America. This should be negotiated into a deal. Once again, Mark Carney not acting in Canada's best interest. He's acting in America's best interest. And as it says right here in this press release, and it says right here, the approval by the U.S. Defense Secretary Cooperation Agency is the first major hurdle in the process for the Canadian military to acquire the Lockheed Martin built system, which gained a lot of public attention a few years ago as Ukraine sought to get its own rocket-propelled artillery to defend against the Russian invasion. Now, why is this important that Lockheed Martin is getting this contract? Lockheed Martin, a big American defense contractor. So what? Except if we look at Mark Carney's stocks, you know where this is going. We scroll in. Lockheed Martin right there. Lockheed Martin Corp, defense contractor. Mark Carney is directly profiting, sending $2.4 billion, a $2.4 billion sale to America. This directly boosts the value of his own stocks in Lockheed Martin. So I'm going to be creating a new board on here of Mark Carney's direct conflicts of interest. There's a whole bunch of them. Obviously, Ukraine. Let's talk about this for a second. Lockheed Martin is expected to join this list of companies that will be helping rebuild Ukraine. And there he is again, Mark Carney profiting off of everything. This guy's like a symbiotic slug that just tries to suck cash out of every single thing. While Lockheed Martin is not going to be one of the main companies rebuilt.
Now, of course, Canada already has several contracts with Lockheed Martin. We can't change existing contracts. In fact, Lockheed Martin has been providing us our Hercules transport aircraft, our backbone of our tactical transport in Canada forever. So it's not like we can just decide to go to another company. But of course, this was known ahead of time, right? That practically every single thing that Canada will be involved in, purchase-wise, spending any money whatsoever, because of Mark Carney's financial portfolio, practically everything will involve him making money. Which is why we have to remind people that he lied. He lied to Canadians during the election, because he told them that, oh no, I only have money and stock or property. He said, money and property, it's all I have. Everything's gotten rid of. And then turn out he's got all those stocks. Yeah. And of course, people are like, I don't care. Why? Why? You know why? Because of their fear factor in their head. Oh, orange man bad. Orange man bad. I have to ignore corruption and ethics violations by our prime minister. Orange man bad. Meanwhile, let's talk about Bill C9. We've been talking about this a lot. A warrantless arrest. Being able to arrest you without having to go to the Attorney General to get a warrant is Marxism. It's Marxism 101. Because now the police, the prosecutor locally, can just get a complaint from somebody and say, yeah, he said something mean. I'm upset. And then they'll go, oh, let's stop him making more people upset. And they show up at your door and arrest you without a warrant. And then they throw you in trial, and you want to face your accuser, and you can't even do that. You can't even face your accuser according to this law. What kind of justice is that? And then, of course, they throw you in jail for life. Life! For what they deem to be hate. No, I'm not saying everybody should go out there and be hateful all the time. No, of course not. We want people to act normal, right? And typically, the pressure points within a society will dictate who's acting abnormal, and they will be just ostracized normally. That's how society usually works, right? Is it ergonomically fixes itself because it wants the people that are productive in it, and it shuns the people that are not. Or if it's a loving and caring Christian community, it looks at these people that are troubled and loves them and tries to help them. but not with Bill C9. Let's see what John Carpe has to say. Let's make sure we can hear him.
Bill C9, the Combating Hate Act, criminalizes feelings and restricts the free speech of Canadians. Bill C9 is largely an exercise in virtue signaling because Canadian judges already have the power under the Criminal Code, Section 718, to impose a harsher sentence on a criminal if the crime was motivated by hate. Defining hate is next to impossible. For example, Bill C9 states for greater certainty, the communication of a statement does not incite or promote hatred solely because it discredits, humiliates, hurts, or offends. So these hate speech laws, disdain and dislike are okay. That's not hate speech. Detestation and vilification, that is hate speech. So you cannot hate or vilify people, but it is okay to discredit, humiliate, hurt, offend, and dislike them. Obviously not a clear standard that citizens can ever know if they are within or outside of the bounds of the law. Bill C9 gets rid of an important protection currently whereby the Attorney General has to consent to a hate speech prosecution. Bill C9 will scrap that so that every policeman can decide subjectively if he or she feels that something is hateful. The prosecution can proceed immediately. It does not need to be reviewed by the Attorney General. Bill C9 criminalizes the display of the Nazi swastika and provides for up to 2 years in jail for displaying that symbol. It does not take into account that the swastika is an ancient Sanskrit symbol for prosperity and good fortune, and there are Hindus and Buddhists in Canada and around the world who display a swastika on the outside of their house as a religious symbol for prosperity and good fortune. So hopefully, if Bill C9 passes into law, the Canadian police will be able to understand the difference between the Nazi swastika and the religious Asian swastika. Unsurprisingly, Bill C9 does not criminalize displaying the communist hammer and sickle, even though that was the symbol under which the communists in Russia, China, Vietnam, Cambodia murdered tens of millions of people. So it seems like the underlying philosophy is that it's killing people on the basis of their ethnicity is worse than killing people on the basis of their economic class or social group. Justice Minister Sean Fraser claims that Bill C9 is going to protect people entering a house of worship from intimidation. It's a half-truth. In fact, uttering threats and intimidation, physical obstruction are already crimes. They're already prohibited by the criminal code. So to add on an extra layer of protection for people entering houses of worship, it's a little bit disingenuous. It's interesting that when Sean Fraser introduced Bill C9, he said it was to respond to rising anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, transphobia, and homophobia, and conspicuous by its absence, there is no reference at all to the arson and burning of dozens of churches across Canada. That seems to be not on the minister's radar screen.
And that is because it doesn't fit their narrative. It doesn't fit their narrative because they realize that if they put that in there, it would demonstrate that they have completely allowed this to happen for the past 10 years in society because of the hate that they are putting forward, because of the hate the liberals are putting forward towards Christians every single day. In fact, now we celebrate Christian hate on a regular basis every year with this farce that they just had a couple of days ago that we just had Anita Kay talking about, this farce of mass graves. Which is why, and right after that, that's when all the church attacks and burning started. And the government has been complicit in its silence, and even more complicit now by excluding it from this hate bill, because it's obvious that because of their push for DEI, some people will always be more equal than others. And guess where you fall into place if you are white or Christian? Now, there's this story here that fits right into what they've been doing with allowing mass migration into Canada. Now, here's just a little exchange from X. Here's Alberta Plumber posting. When did the Alberta government and Abed decide to put special needs and people who don't speak English in classes with normal Alberta students? Um, I remember, well, okay, so I went to school a long time ago, but who knows what's been happening now, the way they've been changing society, right? We need to suss this out. From what I'm reading, this is the main issue of class sizes and why teachers are complaining. I can't find anything, he said. Now, of course, people who are out there experiencing for life, and that's a good thing about X, they will post and say, you know, you can't find anything, but this is what's happening to me. Here's mom of 3 boys saying, there is 4 kids that speak English in my son's 7th grade class. There are 32 kids total. 4 kids that speak English. 4 kids. The rest of them, all migrants who don't speak a lick of English. Can you imagine that? No wonder the teachers are losing their bloody minds. Alberta Plumber says, this is unreal. And then mom of 3 boys says, oh, it's okay. He got kicked out a few weeks back for wearing a MAGA hat. Now there are 3 English-speaking children in his class. Well, that explains it right there. So I guess that teacher's not going to complain. She's going to be in heaven with all these migrants and non-Canadians so that she can continue to push her narrative of that some people are more equal than others, right? And especially you wearing a MAGA hat, you're evil, and you're one of the last few people that speaks English in this class that can actually help the teacher. So you got to go home. I'm going to get you suspended for wearing an evil hat. Bye-bye, little kid. Can you imagine that? Teachers aren't there to teach anymore. Teachers are there to inculcate an ideology because that's what all the teachers, colleges have been teaching their teachers to teach to the kids. You know, when I went to school, I didn't know the politics of a single one of my teachers. Not all the way through grade school, all the way through high school. All my different teachers or the principals. I didn't know their politics. Why do kids today know the politics? Why are they being taught politics instead of education? The politics is their culture. The culture belongs to their parents, not to the state. But this has been slow in the process, right? And now it's throughout everything. Like I said, DEI is in everything. This cultural Marxist disease, it needs to be eviscerated. And, well, like Yuri Bezmenov says, it's not going to happen overnight. It takes another generation to breed out. It takes a generation to breed out. Unless, of course, those generations build their mountain of skulls, and they're on their way there, right? Burning churches, making sure that a certain group will always be attacked over others by making sure that they are not in hate legislation. Well, if you exclude them from hate legislation, I guess it's okay to hate them. Bloody liberals. They hate us all. And what do we got here? Oh, this is in the wrong spot. Okay. Ah, yes. Now, if you remember from the debate during the election, the mainstream media lost their bloody minds because after so many repeated elections of independent media being kept out the debates, and every time Rebel News going to the courts and getting their way and saying, no, they can't be excluded. They're press. Just because the government decided to institute a quality journalism of Canada, the QJOC, of who can actually report the news. So they keep using this thing that they made up to say that everyone else is unqualified and therefore not allowed to participate in society. Just like the rest of you Canadians who don't agree with liberals on some things, you don't get to participate in society. Remember when they did that with the vaccine? Remember that? Oh, you don't take the injection? You can't participate in society. That's how these Marxists work. They exclude you and they turn you into pariah so that they can attack you and hopefully get you unlived and never be a problem again. Just like all the communists of old. Now let's see what the latest update is on this. Oh, I know why I had my video in there. Because I had done a couple of videos on this when it actually occurred. So let's give you a little preamble. Mainstream media meltdown. Rebel News has had a follow-up with some more debate media room footage. And feel free to view the whole thing on their channel. But what's important to note here is how independent media has become a pariah to the establishment. We know why. Because they can't control the message. And it's driving them bonkers.
I am angry because we took the blame, outward looking in, for the bad behavior of the media party. We conducted ourselves with grace and dignity, and Drea really set the tone for all of us with how to conduct ourselves. And for 2 days straight, we were subjected to bullying and derision and scorn and lies and misinformation published about us.
And physical assault.
And physical assaults, as my friend David found out tonight. I mean...
Oh, Terry Gillan!
Yep. And of course, everybody thinks on the left that violence is okay if it's committed on behalf of their cause. And we see politicians demonstrating it right there. We see the news, the QJOC, government-funded, taxpayer-funded news. Remember, all these journalists, right? They all get close to 30 grand a year in subsidies from your tax dollars to ensure they are employed. Well, that's everybody in the news business that takes money from the government. And that's why the government ensures that only their message gets through to Canadians, right? And that the independent media like this continue to be scorned, demonized, and pariahed, so that anyone else in Canada will just look at them and goes, "Oh no, they're scary people like Orange Man. They're just like Orange Man. We can't watch them. Oh, you're stupid. You listen to Rebel News." If you're going to limit your level of intelligence by limiting the breadth of information that you're going to expose yourself to so that you can make your own decision, then that makes you a patsy for the government, because they're controlling you. They're beaming their signal directly into your brain because you're only allowing yourself to watch what they are controlling for you to watch. You don't think you are, but you are. Now let's see what she says.
We've got an exclusive. CTV and CBC lied about the Montreal police response to the leaders' debate chaos. And thanks to your help at rebelinvestigates.com, we have the Freedom of Information records to prove it.
Just one point on that. We are inside a secure perimeter. You have to go through screening processes that involve the RCMP. This set we are on, they came in with bomb-sniffing dogs, searched our bags to make sure everything was safe. That's to make sure the leaders are safe and everybody in here is safe.
They created that entire scenario themselves.
Scary independent news. We need the police to protect us. Escorting people out.
The federal leaders' debates back in April of 2025 were supposed to showcase Canadian democracy. Instead, these debates exposed collusion between Canada's state broadcaster and the taxpayer-funded Debates Commission meant to referee them. Rebel News had twice beaten the Leaders' Debates Commission in federal court after being unlawfully barred from covering the debates. By 2025, facing the prospect of an embarrassing third-time loss, the commission capitulated and accredited Rebel News, including myself. That legal victory, of course, enraged the legacy media, particularly the CBC. Rebel News reporters were heckled in the press line, disparaged with lies on national television, and ultimately shut out of the post-debate scrum.
If you can see and hear me right now, you are very lucky. Each of you has the chance to quit your job or increase.
I need to listen to a commercial. Of course, if I had a YouTube account, I wouldn't have commercials. But I don't have a YouTube account.
On the second night, when the commission canceled the scrum entirely rather than allow questions from independent media. I know how it went down. I was in the room the whole time, subject to vile workplace harassment for 2 days straight. I guess we were too good at our jobs on the first night after upstaging the entitled bullies in the mainstream media.
You caused an incident that caused the security concern that got this Q&A shut down. So Ezra Levant, I blame you 100% for the Q&A being canceled.
There's not 13 rebels here. TNVXT doesn't work for us. You're angry because you didn't
like 4 questions. Village, right? You have as many outlets as you can start up websites, right?
I don't even know what Ricochet is. I assume you take government subsidies. Is that correct?
Yep.
from Indian territory for your policies, but here in Canada you support censorship and words that you think are unacceptable, especially through censorship online, and you actually refuse.
Now, of course, we go through these questions here. And
Information and disinformation.
Bring the to thinking it stands against hate when its silence is instead emboldening Christophobia.
Your question is another example of why I don't respond to agencies like Rebel News that promote misinformation and disinformation.
Bring the most violent anti-Semitic crime wave in history.
Yes.
There have been shootings, fire bombings, even a riot right here in Montreal. But not all of this anti-Semitic hatred and incitement rises to the high level of a criminal code offense. Do you believe that foreign nationals, that is, people who are not Canadian citizens, should be deported for participating in these hate marches or other pro-Hamas activities that don't rise to the level of a crime?
Well, what I have said is when there is a crime involved, including crimes of vandalism, that visitors to Canada should be deported. You simply can't come here and firebomb a Jewish bakery or someone's home or smash windows out of a political riot and expect to stay in this country if you are on a visitor visa. We will be bringing in tougher laws to penalize those who are permanent residents and citizens who break laws and harm our communities.
Why have you never, not even once, opposed OPEC conflict oil being imported through an aging pipeline? Why do you prefer OPEC conflict oil over Alberta ethical oil?
I seem to believe that you already have the answer you want to write, so your question seems to contain the answer. I believe I am the one who authorized the change of direction in Enbridge Line B in 2013, which seems to prove that I'm not a fanatic against oil. But I believe that we've got to reduce our consumption of oil progressively, including from Alberta, because we are clearly being very expensive for every family in Quebec and Canada.
Hey, Toronto Rebel News fans, listen up.
anyways, I suggest you go and listen to the whole thing. And it's just amazing the amount of collusion and how our tax dollars have been used to basically put one over on Canada every single day. They are using your own money to take your life away. Literally everything you own being taxed away. Everything that you thought you had as a service being taken away through just buffoonery and mass immigration. Uncontrolled mass immigration, right? There's no way that they could have vetted all those people. And then, of course, destroying your society by creating a law that just allows repeat offenders to immediately be released on bail to reoffend and re-steal. In fact, things have gotten so bad in Toronto that cops don't even respond to crime anymore. David Menzies, as you just saw there when he was doing his commercial, was actually in a liquor store when a robbery was happening and followed them out with his phone, taken imaging, and then, tried to report it. Cops wouldn't do anything. And then investigative reporter, they actually find out where these people live. And then they call the cops, and the cops still won't do anything. So David actually goes to the cop station. Hey, look, I got evidence where they are. I got them on tape. I know where they live. And they're like, oh, yeah, I know you came to the station, but you need to use that phone in that room there so that you can report the crime. There was another guy there, got $10,000 stolen from him, and he's trying to report the crime. And they're like, no, you got to use a phone. Well, he tried to use a phone, and he can't get through. That is the state of justice. That's not justice in Canada. What that is a failed society about to completely collapse because we no longer have rule of law. That's how you destroy a society. Now, I'm looking here, and I think perhaps the question period may have started. There were statements by members. Have we gone to a question here? Are we still? No, looks like perhaps they may have started. Let's go have a look.
Both rose by almost 40%. Sadly, organizations such as Food Banks Canada has given the Prime Minister...
The member for Niagara Falls,
coffee. And his children, kindness, and his unwavering commitment to Cape Breton will not be for deepest condolences.
Food. The Prime Minister said local food bank project share equipment. Instead,
The honourable member for South Surrey Whitelaw. To the brave and their families and Royal Canadian, to like to this and your soccer.
To save Canadian jobs. After the election, it was elbows down, and since then, he's been flying all around. He met with the Chinese and raised and after that meeting, they raised tariffs on Canadian farmers and seafood. He met with the Americans, and after that meeting, they raised tariffs on higher on Canadian lumber. He met with the British, and they said no, they're not dropping the tariffs on Canadian beef. He's elbows up, elbows down. He's flying all around, and it's cost 86,000 Canadians their jobs. Everywhere he goes, things get worse. When will the Prime Minister just stop? Park the jet before he costs Canadians jobs.
The government house leader.
Mr. Speaker, this idea that the Prime Minister is flying around the world without bringing back to Canada productive results is a ludicrous one. We've signed landmark agreements in Europe. We've signed landmark agreements in Asia. We've gone to Mexico, signed landmark agreements with the administration there. This Prime Minister is active. He's out there building export markets. He's out there building opportunities for Canadians. He's building Canada strong, Mr. Speaker.
The official opposition chief whip.
The Prime Minister promised that he was going to fix the disaster that Justin Trudeau left, but 86,000 Canadians have lost their jobs since this Prime Minister took office. Just this last week, 900 Calgarians lost their job at Imperial Oil. 300 jobs are threatened at Cap Paper, and GM has announced that it's moving jobs from Oshawa back to the United States. This Prime Minister was elbows up, elbows down, flying all around. This guy promised that he was going to be different than Justin Trudeau, but just like Trudeau, he's been jet-setting, talking to fancy people, taking care of his Liberal friends, while Canadians are losing their jobs. Why won't this guy admit that he's just like Justin Trudeau, just another Liberal?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for the Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's for the exact reason that we are doing the work of going around the world to attract new investment and to do these major deals. We are always going to stand on the side of Canadian workers and Canadian employers. That's why we put together one of the most comprehensive response funds with a strategic response fund of $5 billion. We will always be there for Canadian workers and Canadian businesses.
Member for Barrie South.
Wow, jet setting around the world like a carpetbagger.
Things are worse under this Prime Minister than they were under Justin Trudeau. And while those connected to the Prime Minister, his corporate buddies, Liberal connected insiders, and lobbyists are doing just fine, 86,000 Canadians have lost their jobs since he became the Prime Minister. Canada now has the second highest unemployment rate in the G7. Our productivity as a country is nearing developing nation status. Why are the policies of the Prime Minister designed to benefit his corporate buddies and Liberal insiders while Canadians pay the price?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Minister of Health announced that now 5 million Canadians are getting affordable dental care in this country. And in my own riding, I just want to tell you the story of one individual I met just before the last election.
They continue to spout this lie about the dental program when 71% of the people who thought they were getting free dental care ended up getting a bill because they got told, no, you got lied to by the Liberals. You're not entitled to free dental care. You still got to pay. But yet they keep bragging about it all the time.
And they're also checking the stock price of Brookfield-related companies. Nearly $60 billion in investment has fled the country, mostly to the place where the Prime Minister has 93% of his investments in the United States. He promised he would handle Trump and negotiate a win by July 16th. Then it was July 21st, then August 1st. It's October 3rd. He promised strength but has shown weakness. Oshawa, Kapuskasing, and Calgary have all been devastated with job losses this week. How many more families need to lose their jobs and businesses close before the Prime Minister wakes up to the reality that what he's doing isn't working?
All of them. They want to destroy all of Canada.
Mr. Speaker, I would simply point out to the member of Canada's economy continues to grow, wages continue to grow, interest rates are down, and this Prime Minister is creating opportunities for Canadians in export markets, and he's creating opportunities for Canadians here at home. We're going to be building major projects. We're going to be building them with Canadian steel, Canadian aluminum, Canadian lumber, with Canadian skilled trades, men and women, Mr. Speaker. This Prime Minister is on the job, on the economy. The Conservatives need to wake up to that.
L'honorable député de Louis sera à Carounérac.
Monsieur le Président, lors du G7, le premier ministre avait dit, et je cite, qu'il obtiendrait une entente gagnante avec les États-Unis d'ici le 16 juillet. Ça n'a pas marché. Après ça, il a dit d'ici le 21 juillet. Ça n'a pas marché. Après ça, il a dit le 1er août. Ça n'a pas plus marché. Résultat, Monsieur le Président, aujourd'hui, depuis qu'il est premier ministre, c'est 86 000 Canadiens qui ont perdu leur emploi. Pourquoi les Canadiens perdent-ils leur emploi? Est-ce à cause de l'échec diplomatique du premier ministre ou encore de ses mauvaises politiques économiques?
L'honorable leader
Les Canadiens et Canadiennes viennent de choisir un premier ministre et un gouvernement qu'ils estimaient être les meilleurs pour justement défendre le Canada. Or, on a annoncé des ententes avec l'Europe, des ententes avec l'Asie, des ententes avec le Mexique. Et oui, le premier ministre visitera Washington la semaine prochaine pour justement continuer le processus ardu, avouons-le, de négociation avec les États-Unis. Et je sais que les Canadiens ont très confiance en notre premier ministre lors de sa mission.
L'honorable député Louis sera à Carounérac.
Parlons-en, Monsieur le Président, justement, du premier ministre qui s'est fait élire il y a 6 mois, comment, en disant « Elbows up ». Et quand il est allé à la Maison-Blanche, qu'est-ce qu'il a fait? Elbows down et surtout « Thumbs up » with M. Trump. Et qu'est-ce qu'il a fait après maintenant? Bien, on se retrouve « crawl down ». C'est ça la réalité, Monsieur le Président, des Canadiens qui ont été trompés par le premier ministre qui a dit « Elbows up » et les résultats sont pas là. Les tarifs douaniers ont doublé depuis que le premier ministre est en poste. 86 000 emplois ont été perdus au Canada. C'est ça la réalité aujourd'hui des Canadiens. Est-ce que le gouvernement libéral va se réveiller et enfin agir pour les travailleurs canadiens?
L'honorable ministre de l'Identité canadienne et de la Culture.
Monsieur le Président, j'aimerais rappeler à mon honorable collègue que de tous les pays du monde, c'est le Canada qui a la meilleure entente avec les États-Unis. Les tarifs les plus bas. 85 de notre économie est exemptée des tarifs des États-Unis. Je pense que tous les Canadiens et les Canadiennes qui nous regardent...
Yeah, we know that, but you never said that during the election, did you? That 95% of the stuff is not tariff. But no, you put in that fear, and then, of course, you never got a deal because you spent the whole summer flying around not getting a deal. You can lie all you want there. Hans Gruber, climate change.
L'honorable député de Gaspésie, les Îles-de-la-Madeleine, Mistigouche.
Monsieur le Président, nouvelle catastrophique pour notre industrie forestière. Donald Trump vient d'annoncer une nouvelle hausse de tarifs sur notre bois de 10 qui s'ajoute aux droits de douane illégaux déjà existants de 35 Nouvelle catastrophique d'autant plus que l'aide annoncée par les libéraux au début du mois d'août n'a encore jamais été débloquée. Le syndicat Unifor appelle le fédéral à se réveiller. Je cite son président québécois, « L'urgence est là, pas dans 2 semaines ». Quand le fédéral va-t-il enfin déployer une vraie stratégie de soutien à notre industrie forestière?
Bravo.
L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire au ministre de l'Industrie.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. J'apprécie la question. La ministre de l'Industrie, les autres ministres luttent pour les travailleurs, en particulier dans le secteur de bois d'œuvre, dans la situation de Cap Paper en nord-est de l'Ontario. Nous font les réunions avec
I appreciate the question. Just remember that we're fighting for workers. That's his answer. Oh, sorry, this is the no answer period. It's not really an answer.
De l'appui que nous donnons aux travailleurs, aux entreprises, et nous lutterons toujours pour les travailleurs et les compagnies.
L'honorable député de Gaspésie, les Îles-de-la-Madeleine, Mistigouche.
Monsieur le Président, espérons que le voyage du premier ministre à Washington mardi prochain sera plus fructueux parce qu'à date, le Canada négocie tellement mal que le bois européen rentre plus facilement aux États-Unis que le bois du Québec. Et entre-temps, l'aide reste coincée dans les coffres à Ottawa alors que toute l'industrie forestière québécoise est en péril. Les tarifs ont fait chuter le prix du bois de 15 depuis
Now, it's not just the lumber industry that's being destroyed here by the Liberals' inability to employ proper statecraft to get a proper deal in the United States. And none of this is going to happen. All the industries are going to fail because the United States will not deal with this because we are not securing our border. We have done nothing about the crime running rampant in Canada and pouring over their border.
Et ce, depuis belle lurette, nous trouvons les tarifs et les mesures prises par nos voisins du Sud totalement injustifiées.
Yeah. You keep talking about unjust tariffs. But meanwhile, they said from the onset, you're allowing fentanyl to come over the border Fentanyl drug trafficking and human trafficking is out of control in Canada, and you have done nothing to stop it. Nothing. In fact, you said you were going to get more border agents. You didn't do that either. And a little bit of money that got spent on a rented helicopter, well, that ran out a long time ago.
Monsieur le Président, en juin, le premier ministre disait qu'il conclura un accord avec Donald Trump d'ici 30 jours. Depuis, il encaisse défaite après défaite. Notre bois d'œuvre subit de nouveaux tarifs. Il y a des discussions pour faire rentrer plus de...
This guy has the widest ties I've ever seen. I don't know. There must be something from Quebec, some new vest face or something, but it works really well with that vest.
Défaite après défaite. Là, le premier ministre rencontre Donald Trump mardi. Il ne peut pas revenir avec d'autres défaites. Qu'est-ce qu'il s'engage à ramener de Washington? Bravo!
Le leader au gouvernement en chambre.
Monsieur le Président, nous avons toujours dit que nous allons travailler, évidemment, d'arrache-pied pour trouver et conclure des arrangements avec les États-Unis. Nous trouvons totalement injustifiées les mesures prises tant dans le secteur forestier que sur le côté des...
No. They don't want to get a deal with the United States. They have to ensure the United States stays as a pariah to Canadians so that the Liberals can use them as the boogeyman in the next election, just like they did with the last election. Oh, we want to scare U.S. people. We want to scare terrorists and all that. It's not our fault. Yeah, except that you haven't done anything to engage them.
Bill C-75, the Liberal soft on to be released on bail. Offenders aren't being punished. The good people of Canada are. My community of Haldeman, Norfolk is still heartbroken over the murder of 28-year-old Greg Pritchella, constable at work, who was killed by the violent offender released on bail. The Prime Minister promised to reverse Liberal bail laws. Will he finally keep his word or get out of the way so that Conservatives can fix this crime mess?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, we recognize the seriousness of intimate partner violence. Addressing it requires tough laws and thoughtful laws developed with survivors, communities, and all levels of government to achieve real solutions. With Bill C-75, we strengthened Canada's response to IPV by defining intimate partner in the criminal code, creating a reverse onus for repeat offenders, and ensuring judges consider prior convictions. Penalties are higher for repeat IPV, and it is shameful that the Conservatives want to repeal this progress.
The Honourable Member for Haldeman, Norfolk.
Mr. Speaker, my question was about a constable, a police officer that was killed in the line of duty, and it wasn't answered. Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister promised to fix the justice system, to fix the bail system, and every day victims continue to die. Gun crimes are up 130% under the Liberal bail laws. Lives are at stake, and Canadians cannot wait another day. If Liberals are serious about bail reform, why aren't they supporting our common-sense Conservative Bill 242, the Jail Not Bail Act? When will the Liberals scrap the failed bail laws or get out of the way so that Conservatives can do it?
That's right. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, it is encouraging to see that there is an alignment between the Conservatives' opposition and this newly elected Liberal government when it comes to improving public safety, including through the adoption of stronger laws to building safer communities. I have good news for my colleagues, the Minister of Justice.
Always, right? New government. You're not new. You've been around for 10 years.
Session to strengthen bail reform in this country and to have harsher sanctions for violent repeat offenders, to make sure that we have the support to help communities safe and direct investments in law enforcement. They want to do the work. We want their support.
The Honourable Member for Caribou, Prince George.
Business owners in my province feel like they're under siege. Break-ins, theft, arson, smashed windows, extortion, open drug use. Prolific offenders are wreaking havoc on our streets. In Kelowna, a recent report reveals that just 15 criminals are responsible for over 1,300 police reports in 2024. The Liberals' catch-and-release C-75 forces courts to release violent career criminals at the earliest opportunity under the least onerous conditions. Will the Prime Minister scrap his failed hug-a-thug policies and adopt our jail not bail bill, or will he get out of the way and let Conservatives do it?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety.
Monsieur le Président, tout le monde au Canada mérite de se sentir en sécurité.
Nous avons entendu les Canadiens et nous agissons en ce sens. Nous faisons des mesures, nous introduisons des réformes sur le système de libération sous caution. Nous allons augmenter les sentences plus sévères pour les récidivistes et pour les criminels violents. Et nous agissons au niveau des communautés pour cesser le trafic de drogue, pour limiter les armes à feu illégales et pour enlever les armes d'assaut. Nous agissons pour les Canadiens. Nous écoutons les Canadiens, Monsieur le Président.
Honourable member for Caribou, Prince George.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised bail reform, and he's broken that promise. Last fall, a senior in my riding, Bob Hubbard, returned home to find his home being robbed. When he tried to stop the perpetrators, they ran him over, dragged him down the road, and left him for dead. They were caught the same day and released hours later, while Mr. Hubbard laid in the hospital with life-threatening injuries. That's this Liberal government's legacy. Conservatives are proposing a solution. Will the Prime Minister scrap his failed bail policies or get out of the way so we can do it?
L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire au ministre de la Sécurité publique.
Monsieur le Président, toutes nos condoléances vont à la famille et à la victime et aux familles. Ce sont des situations intolérables et nous allons faire tout en sorte pour éviter ce genre de situation. Monsieur le Président, les conservateurs ont une solution unique pour tous les problèmes. Construire des prisons. Construire des prisons. Nous allons faire beaucoup plus que ça, Monsieur le Président. Nous allons réformer le système.
Les libéraux, ils ont juste une réponse. Tout le monde va mourir.
L'agence frontalière, nous allons faire en sorte que les Canadiens se sentent en sécurité, Monsieur le Président.
The honourable member for Regina, Wascana.
Liberal bail has unleashed crime and chaos on our streets. Their law, C-75, requires courts to release violent career criminals at the earliest opportunity under the least onerous conditions. Just 2 weeks ago in Regina, a man under a probation order terrorized a neighborhood by chasing multiple people down the street with a machete. This Prime Minister promised to flip-flop on bail, but his bail laws are still in place 6 months after taking power. Will the Prime Minister scrap Liberal bail, or will he get out of the way and let us do it?
That's right. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, let them do the work. We will take no lessons from the Conservatives' outrageous record on crime legislation. In 2008, tackling violent crime with firearms was struck down in the Noor case. In 2009, the Truth in Sentencing Act was struck down in the Saravazet-Mark Hale case. In 2011, ending sentence discounts for multiple murders act overturned in Bisonette. And the list goes on and on and on. Mr. Speaker, let me assure this House that we are working on serious bail reform bill, fully constitutional and strong against repeat violent offenders.
The Liberal lie that the judiciary will strike everything down is a lie because they make the laws.
He has broken that promise. Liberals are obstructing jail not bail from passing, keeping in place Liberal soft on crime catch and release laws. Because of lax Liberal bail laws, homicides are up nearly 30%, auto theft is up 25%, and sexual assaults up 76%. Today, Conservatives are proposing to pass jail not bail immediately to keep Canadians safe. Will the Liberals scrap their failed bail policies, or will they get out of the way and let Conservatives do it?
Let's do the work.
So the reality of these policies is that they will always put the criminal's rights before the rights of the victim. And that is what we are seeing. And they keep repeating the same thing. Oh, we can't violate the rights of our criminals. Our Canadians have to pay the price for that.
We are working closely with provinces and territories to reform bail, sentencing and addressing delays, giving police and prosecutor stronger tools to keep violent offenders off our streets.
They had stronger tools, but you brought in Bill C-75 and took those away, you
restore
clown.
confidence in the justice system and ensure violent offenders face real consequences. We're ready to do the work, and we will do it.
The Honourable Member for Bruce Grey, Owen Sound.
Mr. Speaker, as I'm speaking, there's a ceremony going on in Owen Sound paying tribute to Corporal Robert Thomas James Mitchell, who made the supreme sacrifice in Afghanistan 19 years ago today. Over 100,000 Canadians have made the supreme sacrifice in service to Canada. On Remembrance Day in my hometown of Tara, 200 names will be read out. Many ridings have dozens of cenotaphs that request wreaths for Remembrance Day. The Liberals are now telling MPs that FAC will only pay for 2. Veterans Affairs uses the tag Canada Remembers on social media. So why now is the Liberal government choosing to forget our veterans?
Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the member for his question and I thank him for his service. I remain committed to ensuring that all those who have served and continue to serve are honoured meaningfully and respectfully. Proposed changes for the Reese for Parliamentarian program was made with the understanding that MPs would work directly with the Royal Canadian Legion, with proceeds supporting their local branches. On learning that the changes could significantly disruptive to the Remembrance Day, I've instructed my department to revert to the previous format for this year. This Veterans Week, I encourage all Canadians to support their local legions and support the work our veterans have done for this country.
I'm sorry, but you can go fuck yourself. I'm sorry, but they can go fuck themselves. Having made all its veterans second-class citizens for refusing your fucking injection, go fuck yourself.
Monsieur le Président, depuis le début...
Come on. Order. À l'ordre. La députée, on va recommencer son temps. La députée de Côte-Nord, Cahouach-Kamach-Nitassinan.
Monsieur le Président, depuis le début de la semaine, le Premier ministre et la ministre du Travail demandent à Post Canada et aux syndicats de retourner à la table de négociation afin de régler la grève générale. Mais, Monsieur le Président, avant que ce gouvernement s'en mêle, il n'y en avait pas de grève générale. Avant la semaine dernière, il négociait. Le syndicat attendait une offre des employeurs et le courrier était distribué. Y a-t-il quelqu'un au gouvernement qui va reconnaître que c'est eux seuls les responsables de la crise à Post Canada?
Bravo. Bravo. L'honorable ministre des Travaux publics.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Ma collègue a la mémoire courte. En novembre 2024, des employés de Post Canada étaient en grève générale dans les semaines qui menaient jusqu'à Noël. Ça fait 20 mois que le conflit de travail dure. Maintenant, en ce qui nous concerne, Monsieur le Président, il est essentiel de transformer l'institution qui perd, je le rappelle, 10 millions par jour. Ça, c'est 10 millions que les Canadiens doivent payer pour maintenir les lumières allumées chez Post Canada. Je comprends que le Bloc québécois n'a jamais eu à réfléchir à un budget. Je comprends qu'ils ont le loisir de ne pas être sérieux puis que pour eux, c'est acceptable. Mais pour nous, ce n'est pas. Il est important que le syndicat et que la direction s'entendent dans l'intérêt de tous les Canadiens. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
L'honorable député de Côte-Nord, Cahouach-Kamach-Nitassinan.
Monsieur le Président, j'espère que le ministre ne sera pas toujours arrogant comme il l'est présentement. On parle de milliers de travailleurs qui risquent de perdre leur emploi et qui demandent depuis 20 ans une réforme. Ça fait pas une année qu'on perd 10 millions par jour. Il faut avoir un front de bœuf pour aller demander aux deux parties impliquées dans la crise des postes d'être raisonnables et de retourner à la table, car c'est le gouvernement qui a mis le feu. Ce conflit-là, c'est seulement, complètement, absolument la faute des libéraux. On est tous conscients que le modèle d'affaires de Post Canada, même si on ne fait pas un budget, nécessite une réforme majeure. Mais est-ce qu'ils ont pris seulement 2 minutes pour aviser le syndicat de leur intention de...
Le ministre des Travaux publics.
So the Liberals love crisis, right? And this is an easy crisis for them to have. So they will need to keep this crisis alive.
Si on veut préserver cette institution qui est essentielle partout à travers le pays, il doit y avoir des réformes parce que si c'est acceptable pour le Bloc québécois que Post Canada perde 10 millions par jour, pour nous, ce ne l'est pas. Et je pense que pour l'immense majorité des Québécois et des Canadiens, ce n'est pas acceptable. D'ailleurs, Monsieur le Président, plusieurs de ses collègues en comité demandent depuis des années qu'on transforme et qu'on modernise Post Canada. C'est exactement ce qu'on fait et je pense qu'à ce stade-ci, il est essentiel pour tant le syndicat que la gestion de Post Canada de s'entendre, de trouver un terrain d'entente dans le meilleur intérêt de tous. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
The honourable member for Similkameen, South Okanagan, West Kootenay.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised that he would negotiate a win by July. It's October and Canadians are losing their jobs. Canada has the second highest unemployment in the fastest shrinking economy in the G7. Mills are closing in communities throughout BC, putting hundreds of people out of work. Why are Canadians losing their job? Is it because of the Prime Minister's failed diplomacy abroad, or is it the job-killing economic policies at home?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Well,
Mr. Speaker, look, every time the Conservative Party has had a chance to vote with workers, they voted against them. Whether it's for skills training, whether it's for investment in unions and union training, whether it's for investments in major projects, they vote against these things, Mr. Speaker, time and time and time again. So the member's question is a little hollow, I would say, and Conservative Party members know it too, because in fact we're sitting on this side of the House because Canadians believe in governments that
No, it's
invest
not
in them.
our fault. It's the opposition's fault. We haven't been in charge for the past 10 years.
Speaker, the minister is talking verifiable nonsense.
That's
She
right.
knows, or she should know, that our platform clearly committed to significant increases in support for union-based training. The minister should listen better, because yesterday business leaders from Toronto came to committee and ripped into this government. They described how 10 years of bad Liberal policies have created worsening structural unemployment. Canada has the second highest unemployment in the fastest shrinking economy in the G7. Will this minister now admit that failing economic policies at home and broken promises on the world stage are causing an unemployment crisis?
That's right.
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Well, unlike the member opposite, Canadians actually understand that there are structural changes in the global economy, and they're counting on a government that will put the investments into their lives, into their workforces, into their training, and into their families to ensure
Spoken like a true globalist. Hear that, Canada? Oh, you're too stupid to understand what's happening to you, Canada. It's a global thing, don't you understand? The world is changing, and we all have to become globalists. You don't understand why we're destroying your lives and making you so poor and have to go to the food bank. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, this minister loves self-congratulations, but I have a simple message for her. It's not working. Canadians aren't working because Liberal policies aren't working. And it's simply in the numbers. We have the second highest unemployment rate in the G7. Wow. We effectively lost over 100,000 jobs in the last month. Youth employment is at its worst level in 25 years. EI claims among working-age women jumped by 12%, just jumped by 12%. Regardless of their intentions, the facts show that Liberal policies are not working. So when will they change course?
Great question.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, we're not going to accept lectures from that side of the House when the record is actually crystal clear. And under the last Conservative government, Canada lost hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs under that Conservative government. Not on our watch, Mr. Speaker. That is why we are building major projects that are going to create tens of thousands of good-paying union jobs right across the country. We are building affordable homes at a scale that we're not going to see. We're creating good union jobs, investing in skills training. Canadians chose a government that's going to move forward on these proposals. That's what we're going to do.
The Honourable from North Island, Powell River.
Mr. Speaker, last week it was revealed that Canada's budget deficit under this Liberal government was expected to increase to more than $68 billion, a result of billions more in inflationary spending with no plan whatsoever to pay it back. On top of this, the Prime Minister is now planning to borrow another $250 billion over the next 4 years, almost double what Justin Trudeau was planning. There is no plan for balanced budgets, no sign of fiscal restraint. When will they stop mortgaging our future and get Liberal spending under control?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I know the Conservative leader must be a little insecure about the size of his economic credentials or lack thereof, and I recognize that he won't listen to a former Bank of Canada governor, but maybe he'll try listening to the current one. Last week, the current Bank of Canada governor said our government's plan to diversify trade and invest in large-scale infrastructure was going to help encourage businesses take risks and would help boost productivity and growth. He said, and I quote, "Productivity gains and the higher real incomes that come with them are the only way to make everything more affordable."
The Honourable Member for North Island, Powell River.
$1 billion every single week. That's how much taxpayer money this government is wasting paying interest on the debt. We're now spending more on interest payments than we are on our entire healthcare system. The result of Liberal governments borrowing more money over the past 10 years than every other government in the history of this country combined. And now they want to borrow billions more. When will this Prime Minister stop looking out for the big banks that lend the money and start looking out for the next generation of Canadians? He's sticking with the bill.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Speaker, we know that Canada has the lowest effective tariff rate of any country in the world. We have a great credit rating, a AAA credit rating, the lowest net debt to GDP ratio. We can't help it that the opposition leader have no vision for the future of the Canadian economy. It's clear that Canadians understand who does have a vision for the Canadian economy.
Canada?
That's why they voted for
When you're hungry tonight, just be happy that you have a AAA credit rating. Let that fill your belly.
What did the Conservatives say? When we launched major projects with 10,000...
L'honorable député de Compton-Stanstead.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le gouvernement a récemment annoncé des mesures pour réduire l'hémorragie à Poste Canada qui perd 10 millions de dollars par jour, dont la levée du moratoire sur les bureaux de poste ruraux. Je tiens à rappeler l'importance cruciale de ces bureaux-là pour les communautés rurales dans le maintien des services et le maintien du lien social. Chez nous, c'est des municipalités comme Compton, Stanstead, North Atlee, Chartierville qui sont présentement sous le moratoire. Est-ce que le ministre de la Transformation du gouvernement peut rassurer les gens de chez nous sur le maintien des services essentiels en région et quelles mesures vont être prises pour que les citoyens ne soient pas laissés pour compte?
L'honorable ministre de la Transformation du gouvernement.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Puis je veux remercier ma collègue pour sa question, mais aussi pour tout le travail qu'elle a fait en amont pour nous aider au gouvernement à transformer Poste Canada en s'assurant que les services soient maintenus dans les communautés rurales éloignées. C'est fondamental. L'objectif ici, Monsieur le Président, c'est de permettre plus de flexibilité dans les communautés de banlieue ou urbaines qui sont couvertes par le moratoire, mais certainement de ne pas affecter les services dans les communautés rurales. Et puis c'est pourquoi, Monsieur le Président, j'ai demandé à Poste Canada un plan qui va s'assurer de préserver ses services dans les régions, dans son comté et dans tous les comtés à travers le pays qui sont ruraux, mais aussi pour les aînés, on a un programme d'adaptation pour s'assurer que les personnes à mobilité réduite aient accès à leur courrier. C'est fondamental. Merci.
The Honourable Member for Kamloops Thompson Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals have unleashed crime and chaos on our streets. Bill C-75 said that repeat offenders need to be released at the earliest possible occasion on the least onerous conditions. Just this week in Kelowna, it was reported that 15 offenders were responsible for over 1,300 police calls. Now, the Liberals promised we would get bail reform. We have seen nothing. Talk about a bait and switch. Conservatives have a common sense plan to scrap Liberal bail reform. Will they get behind us or let us do it for ourselves? Yes or no?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, we've said it time and time again, the Minister of Justice will be introducing bail reform legislation this fall, and we hope that if the Conservatives are really serious about doing the work, they will support this new legislation. Let me just remind the opposite member that the reality is that in former C-75, we strengthened Canada's response by defining intimate partner violence in the criminal code and creating a reverse onus for repeat IPV offenders.
Everything they say turned out to be a lie because the proof is in the pudding. The amount of crime that is happening right now in Canada today has all been allowed. So everything she's saying is a lie.
I can't believe this minister just said that. I actually just tabled a bill that will protect Canadians and victims of intimate partner violence. It's getting debated next week. They should vote for it right away, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, so many Canadians realize these Liberals have broken their promise. They say what they're going to do. You know why they say what they're going to do? Because they haven't done anything. They have done jack squat when it comes to bail. They want to consult. Read the newspapers, Mr. Speaker. They need to get out of the way or support Bill 242 so that we can get rid of Liberal bail. Will they support us? Yes or no?
The Honourable Governor House
As the member knows full well, we have legislation, important crime-fighting legislation before this Parliament. He should get behind Bill C-2, the Border Act. Just as my colleague indicated, we will be inviting him to get behind bail reform and measures to prevent intimate partner violence. The problem with Conservative legislation is it always ends at the Supreme Court getting struck down and laughed out of court, Mr. Speaker, because it's against the Constitution, it's against Canadian values.
In the meantime, the bad guys stay in prison, don't reoffend, and Canadians are saved. And if the law turns out to be bad, well, then you can change the law because that's what you're for, you bloody clowns.
Onto our streets, releasing violent criminals at the earliest opportunity.
While out on bail in Kelowna, a man convicted on domestic violence charges just hours before allegedly killed Bailey McCourt with a hammer. This Prime Minister promised Liberals would flip-flop on bail, but the Liberal laws are still in place 6 months after he took power. Will the Prime Minister scrap Liberal bail or get out of the way so Conservatives can get it done?
L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire au ministre de la Sécurité publique.
Monsieur le Président, permettez-moi d'offrir mes condoléances à la famille de la victime. Ce sont des gestes que l'on condamne fortement.
Yes, they always have condolences for the victims of the crimes that they have allowed to represent itself. But you know, like today's thumbnail says, it says it all. It says it all. Look at this, right? We need to kill more Canadians to not be like the U.S. That's all they want. They can't be embarrassed. Canadians have to die. I'm sorry. Canadians will have to die because Liberals are in charge.
L'honorable député de Montmorency, Charlevoix.
Merci, M. le Président. Le Canada a été longtemps un pays où les familles pouvaient marcher dans les rues en paix, où est-ce qu'on pouvait prendre un café, aller à l'épicerie, aller au gym ou même sortir en ville sans craindre pour sa vie. Mais après 10 ans d'attaques libérales sur notre système de justice, notre pays devient de plus en plus violent. 55 % d'augmentation des crimes violents, 30 % d'augmentation des homicides, 76 % d'augmentation des agressions sexuelles et j'en passe. Les Canadiens ne reconnaissent plus le pays où il y avait des lois solides, un système criminel sérieux et des sentences sévères. Est-ce que les libéraux réalisent qu'ils ont échoué à défendre notre population?
L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire au ministre de la Sécurité publique.
Monsieur le Président, nous prenons plein de mesures pour agir, pour contrer ces événements-là. Mais je veux prendre l'occasion pour m'adresser un moment à la famille de M. Denis Blanchette ainsi qu'à Mme Pauline Marois, ex-première ministre du Québec, pour leur dire qu'ayant agi à titre de coroner lors de l'attentat du Métropolis, je peux enfin leur dire que nous allons procéder à la collecte du CZ-858, l'arme qu'a utilisée M. Richard Henry Bain au Métropolis. J'espère que ceci sera pour eux une petite consolation après toute l'anxiété et la peine qu'ils ont dû endurer. Monsieur le Président, la sécurité des Canadiens et Canadiennes sera toujours notre priorité absolue.
L'honorable député de Montmorency, Charlevoix.
Merci, M. le Président. Écoutez, gouverner, c'est prévoir. Eh bien, en matière de justice, ce gouvernement libéral ne prévoit pas grand-chose. Ces lois laxistes permettent de libérer encore et encore les mêmes criminels violents, fois après fois. Quand un individu est arrêté 30 fois, brise ses conditions plus de 15 fois, 6 reprises est accusé de violence conjugale, il fallait s'attendre à ce que l'irréparable arrive. Et c'est exactement ce qui s'est passé à Saint-Jérôme. Gaby Renault a payé de sa vie le prix du laxisme libéral. Quand est-ce que le premier ministre va réaliser que ses politiques ne défendent personne?
Yeah, another liberal death caused by liberals.
Le passé accompagne la famille et les proches de Gaby Renault. En cette période douloureuse, personne ne devrait avoir à vivre une telle tragédie. La violence fondée sur le genre n'a tout simplement pas sa place au Canada. Nous allons bientôt déposer un projet de loi pour rendre plus difficile l'obtention de la mise en liberté sous caution pour les délinquants violents. Et nous allons faire du meurtre motivé par la haine, y compris le féminicide, un meurtre qualifié au premier degré. Nous serons toujours du côté des victimes, Monsieur le Président.
The honourable member for Lethbridge.
The Prime Minister said that he would be judged by the price of food at grocery stores as to whether or not he was successful. Well, the data is in and it doesn't look great. Due to the Liberals' hidden food taxes, Canadians are paying more than ever when they look to fill their fridge. The hidden carbon tax applied to the production of food, the hidden plastic tax applied to packaging, and the hidden tax known as inflation applied to everything because of this government's out-of-control spending. All of these things add up and Canadians are stuck with the bill. Yesterday, Liberals blocked our Conservative motion to make food more affordable by scrapping these taxes. Why are the Liberals so hell-bent on making things tough for Canadians?
The Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Oh, yes, it's not a tax. It's just a fee.
Now, Conservatives have obviously forgotten how fixed-income household budgets work. When families save money on their taxes, on gas at the pump, on childcare, on school lunches, on dental checkups, they have more money to spend on groceries. All of these savings are liberal.
Oh my God, all these failed programs. $10 a day daycare that pushed people into a 4-year waiting list. 71% of the people who thought they had dental care didn't get it. Everything these guys say is a lie. And of course, they are taxes. They just changed the names on it.
I would invite that member to give that same passionate speech and those condescending talking points to the 4 million Canadians lined up at food banks in order to be able to feed their families. It's despicable and you should be ashamed. Since this Prime Minister came to power, food prices have only gone up. Food prices are rising twice as fast as they did under the former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Food insecurity is up by 128%, and 1 in 4 Canadians can't even provide for themselves the very basic necessities of life. Meanwhile, the member opposite rolls his eyes and shakes his head as if I'm saying something that doesn't matter to him. Why doesn't this...
The Honourable Secretary of State for Sports. Secretary of State for Sports.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Caring for Canadians means that we're putting forward actual measures that are going to support affordability, and we're also going to be honest with Canadians. We're not going to make up taxes like this made-up make plastic bags free again motion that the Conservatives put forward last week in order to pretend to care about food prices, Mr. Speaker. When they read the food bank's report, Mr. Speaker, it'd be really good if they would actually read some of the recommendations, because what the food bank's report actually says is we should strengthen our social safety net, build more affordable housing, support programs like dental care and child care, and the programs that are actually supporting
more communism, more socialism, more spending from the taxpayer that we don't have any money to spend on because you've destroyed the economy.
Every single dollar that the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians in a form of higher Liberal taxes and inflation. The Prime Minister said he would be judged by prices Canadians pay at the grocery store. So a visit to the supermarket confirms sugar is up 19%, strawberries 18%, and even salad dressing up 13%. This week, Liberals voted against our motion to stop taxing food, removing their hidden food taxes. Why?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Secretary of State for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, let's be clear right off the top that there are no hidden taxes on foods and that this is a phantom that's created by the Conservatives.
So just because you call a tax something else that increases the price of something that goes into your government coffers, it's still a tax. I don't care what you call it. You're not fooling anybody, you liberal liars. You are a lying liberal. Let's listen to more of the liberal liars.
5 million Canadians now. They talk about our tax-free Canada Child benefit, which is helping put groceries on the table. And they talk about affordable child care that's saving families more than $10,000 a year. That is our plan to help families.
The Honourable Member for Chatham-Kent Leamington.
A real family would be able to afford their own child care. But the Liberals are stealing all their money.
Apples up 13%, sweet potatoes up 8%, chicken up 10%. These increases are a direct result of this government's hidden food taxes, industrial carbon tax, fuel standards regulations, the plastics ban, and especially inflationary deficits. Given that, what exactly are Canadians supposed to be thankful for this year as they struggle to put a turkey on their table and the necessities in their refrigerator?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Speaker, as all Canadians and indeed the good people of Chatham-Kent Leamington know, there is no tax on food.
That's right. The Honourable Member for Hull-Aylmer.
Monsieur le Président, chaque octobre, le Canada souligne le mois de la sensibilisation à la cybersécurité. Cette initiative vise à nous informer tous sur l'importance des bonnes pratiques en matière de cybersécurité. Le secrétaire parlementaire peut-il nous informer des mesures prises par notre gouvernement pour renforcer la cybersécurité des individus et de leurs entreprises face à des menaces de plus en plus sophistiquées?
Honorable secrétaire parlementaire au ministre de la Sécurité publique.
Monsieur le Président, merci à mon collègue de Hull-Aylmer pour sa question. Projet de loi C8, la loi concernant la cybersécurité, est débattu aujourd'hui en Chambre. Cette législation vise à sécuriser les infrastructures essentielles du Canada en alignant les télécommunications canadiennes aux autres secteurs et critiques de l'économie canadienne. Le projet de loi va nous permettre d'avertir les opérateurs des menaces et vulnérabilités afin qu'ils puissent protéger leur système et surtout éviter d'être la proie d'actions malveillantes. En ce mois de la sensibilisation, J'espère que nos amis d'en face vont nous appuyer pour le projet de loi C8.
The honourable member for Regina Louvain.
This Prime Minister said he'd be judged by the prices at the grocery store, and I find it interesting these Liberals don't think there's any hidden taxes. There's the industrial carbon tax, the food packaging tax, the second carbon tax, and their inflationary deficits, which makes prices at the grocery store go higher and higher. So why won't these Liberals scrap their hidden carbon taxes so Canadians can afford to put food on the table?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
So Canadians know there's no tax on food, Mr. Speaker, but what do all the food security experts in the country say? They've been saying for generations, the answer to food insecurity is income security. That means jobs, Mr. Speaker.
Experts say. Experts. Oh, yes, they love to bandy about their experts. I was going to talk about income security, right? Because they want to go into universal basic income. Who's going to pay for it? Their money printing machine, of course.
Building projects worth tens of thousands of jobs to Canadians? Pathetic. You don't want to know what I think is pathetic, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Regina Louvain.
What an idiotic response. 1,000 people just lost jobs.
The member has to watch his words carefully in the House when they are used. I'm just going to ask the member to retract those words, and he can restart his question.
What a tone-deaf response. 1,000 people lost jobs in Calgary. 86,000 people have lost their jobs under their Liberal failed policies. 35% of people in Saskatchewan are food insecure. So he can go and tell them that he's going to take their jobs with their energy policies. So my question is, will they scrap the hidden carbon tax and maybe have a heart for people that don't have jobs so Canadians can put food on the table?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Secretary of State for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite talks about having a heart. Well, let me tell you about having a heart for kids and our national school food program.
Yes, let's talk about all the kids that are sexually assaulted by repeat offenders that you let out on bail. But no, let's not talk about your sandwich bag deal that you got going on, that you destroy the economy so that you have to provide lunches to the children because their parents can't afford to produce it. But you think that's a success. You think that's a success because you're a bloody communist.
Core problem right now because they cut interest rates. We're there for families. We're creating jobs. That's our plan.
L'honorable député de Richmond-Athabasca.
What jobs? Don't create any jobs.
Est-ce que le premier ministre est conscient que chaque dollar qu'il dépense vient des poches des Canadiens? Est-ce que le premier ministre est conscient que les Canadiens, eux, font un budget et que malgré tout, ils n'arrivent pas à joindre les deux bouts? Est-ce que le premier ministre est conscient que depuis son arrivée comme premier ministre, le prix de la nourriture ne fait que monter? Est-ce que le premier ministre est conscient qu'il y a plus de 2 millions de Canadiens qui vont aux banques alimentaires chaque mois? Est-ce que le premier ministre est conscient que depuis l'arrivée du gouvernement, 128% d'augmentation au niveau de l'insécurité alimentaire? Est-ce que le premier ministre est conscient...
L'honorable ministre aux Travaux publics.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Et je comprends que mon collègue est plutôt nouveau dans le Parti conservateur, mais il a rapidement appris les trucs, c'est-à-dire répéter les mêmes talking points avec les mêmes mots que ses collègues. Je l'en félicite. Maintenant, par rapport à sa question, Monsieur le Président, je veux lui dire une chose. Le parti qui l'a joint pendant 10 ans, a voté contre toutes les mesures pour soutenir les Canadiens, que ce soit l'allocation canadienne pour enfants, que ce soit le supplément de revenus garanti, que ce soit le programme d'aide pour les enfants, pour des repas dans les écoles, Monsieur le Président.
And of course they voted against you for the past 10 years because the proof is in the pudding. The economy's in the toilet. People are fleeing. Everybody hates you except the people who suck your... Never mind.
As we prepare to mark Veterans Week and Remembrance Day, young Canadians are learning about the invaluable contributions our Canadian Armed Forces have made around the world and here at home. How is the Minister of Veteran Affairs increasing youth engagement this year to help the next generation understand what it means to serve?
The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague from Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam, for his question. Last week, I unveiled the 2025 Veterans Week poster at Pinewood Elementary in Delta, BC, joined by members of the 4th Canadian Ranger Patrol and the 39 Canadian Brigade Group. This year's theme, Canadian Armed Forces in the Americas, recognizes CAF's military supports across continents, from national security to disaster relief to humanitarian aid. By helping young people understand more about who serves and why, we inspire the next generation of service and remembrance.
The honourable member for Lanark-Frontenac.
I doubt they're going to remember all the people's lives they destroyed with the COVID-19 vaccine or the soldiers that they abandoned after they got injured.
Decline in Russian exports nor fall in the price paid worldwide for Russian product. In Canada, no meaningful displacement of Russian imports with domestic production has taken place, so the result is that Eastern Canadian farmers pay more for imports from third countries, creating a shortage in their markets, which is then filled by full-price product from Russia. No other G7 country imposes this burden on its farmers. Why does the Liberal government continue to do so?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to withhold more severe judgment. The member may well know there is a war going on between Russia and Ukraine. Canada is an important supplier of potash. Canada will continue to be one of the world's most important suppliers of potash, and the member should well know that the only realistic option to fertilize Canadian fertilizer is Russian or Belarusian fertilizer.
The honourable member for Courtney Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, farmers have saved and replanted seeds for generations, but this government is proposing changes to plant breeders' rights that threaten this age-old practice. To make matters worse, consultations were scheduled during summer and harvest season when farmers are busiest and least able to respond. Does the Minister of Agriculture support the right of Canada's fruit and vegetable farmers to continue saving and using their own seeds? And will he abandon these reckless and harmful changes?
Parliamentary Secretary to Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague for the question. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency is taking a balanced approach after having consulted more than 100 value chain stakeholders for over 4 years. And following the release of their report that was called What We Heard Report this summer, the CFIA is currently engaging with stakeholders to modernize the regulation system in Canada with all the input from stakeholders. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Winnipeg Centre.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals continue punishing workers for exercising their charter right to fight for fair wages and safe working conditions. How? By abusing Section 107 of Canada's Labour Code, forcing workers back to work. This undermines collective bargaining and the right to strike. From Air Canada to Canada Post, railways to ports, they side with big corporate executives. If the Liberals stand with workers, will the minister repeal Section 107 of the Canadian Labour Code now?
Minister for Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, this government has supported organized labour in a number of ways, including most recently standing with the Canadian building trades unions as we announced 5 major projects with their full support. We've invested in union training. We've invested in union supports. We've reversed harmful conservative union-busting legislation. Unions know that we're there for them. As the Minister of Labour, I'll work hard to make sure we get the balance right.
Yeah, how did that work out with Canada Post?
I wish to draw the attention of members to the presence in the gallery of the Honourable Ken Cheveldayoff, Minister of Advanced Education for the province of Saskatchewan. Daily routine of business. The Honourable Secretary of
All right, there are no points of order here at the end of this. So this last thing that the NDP, the last question that they asked, I had no idea that now even the Liberals are putting forth legislation that is going to force farmers to buy their seeds from Monsanto. That's basically what that is. I don't know anybody else who mass produces seeds, but as you know, Monsanto has genetically modified their seeds so that their plants don't die off when they spray Roundup or glyphosates all over it, right? That glyphosate poison. So it kills all the other plants, but not your crops. And that's why they want to start using those seeds. And that's why they want to force the farmers to use. And as we've seen down in the States, what happens is if those plants end up on somebody else's farm, Monsanto will come along and then sue them for growing illegal plants. And then if a farmer uses their own seeds instead of Monsanto seeds, well, guess what? The farmer gets arrested, he gets fined, he loses his crop, all to protect this big agro. Why is that? Because that's what they want to do. It's part of the globalist plan. And look at your 2030, 2050 plans, all these things. That's all they want to do. Now, the genetic modification of those seeds, that genetic modification in those seeds themselves, when you eat that, guess what happens? You are what you eat. Everything you eat is digested and gone through your system and absorbed. That means those genetic modifications in that seed are now going through your system. And when that genetic modification goes through your system, guess what? It's going to change you. If a woman is pregnant and she's eating that genetically modified food, what do you think is going to happen to her fetus? You are what you eat. Everything that maintains us and builds us and keeps us alive is what we ingest. It's like a plant. If you don't give plant food, if you don't give your plant food, the plant's not going to grow. It's going to wilt. It's not going to perform very well. But if you give it those basic ingredients there, potassium, right? You give it a little bit of plant food, next thing you know, it grows like crazy. Oh, imagine that. It's the same thing with our bodies. Whatever we put in to rebuild and change the cells in our body is what is going to change those cells. It takes about 2 years for all of your whatever cell that you have, that the ones that are naturally replaced by your body, it takes about 2 years for all of them to be replaced. So that means that if you stop whatever it is that you're doing that is causing damage to your body, it'll take 2 years for your body to completely heal that area on its own. Now, of course, you can expedite that healing by ingesting things that will boost your immunity, build your proper building. But that 2 year gap, you can't really change that. That's about as long. And of course, the older you are, the longer it's going to take for those cells to replace themselves. So, having said that, that is it for today. There was a lot of other stuff we wanted to cover. We will cover that on Monday or the next broadcast. Join us on Monday for the next episode of The Nap. I'm assuming the House of Commons is in. I don't know. Yeah, let's check the schedule over at Parlview and look at next week. And yes, they're all in next week. Outstanding. Well, we will see you then. Until then, have a good weekend. God bless you all. Thanks for coming out, and please leave us a comment. Bye-bye. Come on, transition. Oh, look at that, eh? Why didn't that work out right?